My background is my name's Jason Kirk. I'm the managing director of Kirk Kirk. My family's been in optics for 100 years. They invented, for example, the first adjustable nose pads. Can you imagine, like, glasses without adjustable nose pads? But they invented the first adjustable nose pads. They invented bulletproof lenses. I mean, they were incredible. And so my dad was an optician. All his brothers and cousins were opticians, and I was not interested at all. Even in the early 90s, when we started working, we wanted to bring something exceptional, and that can be through color, or it can be through shape, through design, through detail. It could be anything. So Kirk and Kirk is the only company in the world that hand makes frames from acrylic. It's a durable material, but the main benefit of acrylic is that it's incredibly light. So you can take a frame. I'll show you, for example, you have to win their confidence in the beginning before they even come and see you, and you have to maintain their confidence when they come to your store, when they have their eyes tested, when they choose their products, and after they've left. You have to maintain a relationship with them after they've left, and it's not easy. But you'll find that stores will carry 6, 7, 8 brands at most, and go deep into those brands and tell the story of that brand. Every consumer wants an experience. It has to be experience. It's not price. It's really not price. So my background is my name's Jason Kirk. I'm the managing director of Kirk Kirk. My family's been in optics for 100 years. So my grandfather and his brother were really entrepreneurial, and it was after the First World War, and they were looking for a way to make a living. And they found an old sewing machine that had broken down. Okay. What can we do with this? And they turned it into a lens cutter. They put a blade on it, and they knew some opticians, so they turned it into a lens cutter and started selling lenses to opticians in London. And it went really, really well. And very quickly, they established a really big business in London. And what I love about Sydney and Percy Kirk is they thought about people around them as helping them establish London as a centre of excellence. So they helped other people set up competitive businesses, and very soon London became an optical centre. The other thing that they did was they were incredibly innovative. So they invented, for example, the first adjustable nose pads. Can you imagine, like, glasses without adjustable nose pads? But they invented the first adjustable nose pads. They had brilliant marketing, which they shared with opticians to allow them to promote their business. They invented bulletproof lenses. I mean, they were incredible. And so my dad was an optician. All his brothers and cousins were opticians, and I was not interested at all. So I grew up in an optical background, and I used to go to my dad's practice every weekend from the age of about 4. And it just didn't excite me. It didn't interest me. And I had a job. I was working at L'Oreal doing sales and marketing. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife and who's now our creative director, she was a graphic designer working in London. And my dad said to me one weekend, he said, I'm going to decorate my practice, do it all up. He said, can you come and help me? So we went back to the practice, which is in a village in England called Chalfont St Giles, a really small, beautiful, like, chocolate box village. And he said, if you find anything you like, any old glasses, you can keep them. And I found this box. I opened this box, and it was like light came out of the box. It was all 1950s, 1960s glasses that my grandfather had designed. And they were blues and greens and cat's eyes. And I'd never seen anything like it before, because it wasn't the normal thing that people sold. And so I looked at these and I was like, Dad, what are these? He said, well, stuff your grandfather made. If you like them, keep them. So I took a week off work, and I took an old sample case, and I went up to London to see all the fashion designers of the day. And I showed them these glasses, and I had no idea who they were. They had no idea who I was. And I would sit opposite these really famous designers and like, just a normal conversation. And they loved them. And so I had a week doing this. I sold a load of the original glasses. And I went back to work on the Monday thinking, I really enjoyed that, and I don't really want to be at L'Oreal. And I went into L'Oreal that day, and the very day that I went back, they made me redundant. And they said, we don't need you anymore. Here's a little bit of money. Thank you very much. And I was like, I could not believe it. So Karen and I, from that day, used the little bit of money that we had then. We made some more glasses. and we sold those. And very quickly, we found ourselves developing a business. Largely, it was pretty UK centric at first, because we're talking about 1992. No internet, no email. It was me walking out on the streets. We thought we were very advanced when you got an electronic typewriter. I mean, it was early days. But we used to find old acetate and make new frames from old acetate that was lying around that had never been used. So we had a unique product at that point. And we developed a niche for ourselves, and we started to sell to independent opticians right through from the 90s, looking for people that were excited about eyewear, that wanted to change the way that people felt about eyewear. We found ourselves in a very traditional, conservative optical environment. And it just seemed to us that the consumer wanted more. The consumer was ready for more, and we were right. So here we are, 30 years later, and we're still creating eyewear. And the idea is that we inspire and excite people. You feel excited when you put your glasses on. Always been based around bringing something different to the market.
Okay.
So even in the excuse me, even in the early 90s when we started working, we wanted to bring something exceptional, and that can be through color, or it can be through shape, through design, through detail. It could be anything. And as it happened, Karen is a brilliant colorist, and so her understanding of color and how it makes people feel, the emotion that it provokes, is integral to what we do. So color's always played a really important part, but it's not just about color. It's about shape. It's about understanding what shape does, but also mentally what it does for you as well. So there's something that I think was very hard for us to design, if you like, on purpose. But there's a feeling that you get when you wear the right pair of glasses. There's a confidence, there's an empowerment that you get. But what we couldn't predict was how other people would respond to you when you're wearing the right pair of glasses. And there's a definite kind of shifting gear, perhaps even a power shift, if you like, when you're wearing something that absolutely makes you feel the way that you want to feel. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to feel like you're the boss in the conversation. It doesn't have to change the balance of the conversation. But when you get your glasses right, you're conveying a message about your personality. And when you get it really right, you're considering the environment that you're in, the people that you're sharing that environment with, what you want to achieve on that particular day, at that particular meeting, in that particular party, whatever it is that you want to do. But when you get it really right, you feel it, and other people feel it too. So, yes, sorry, that's a very long answer to a short question, but yes, color is important, but it's not the only thing.
You normally play with your acrylic materials only, or you in future you want to move into metal and all?
We enjoy working with acrylic. Acrylic brings something different that other materials don't. So Kirk and Kirk is the only company in the world that hand makes frames from acrylic.
Okay. And is the material soft, light, and strong also? Because I'm not aware much about materials. That's why I want to know much more details about material. Because I
So the
see
difference,
you don't have any kind of metal wires and all in your frames, at least from the photos which I used to see. There is no metal wire, it is complete transparent. Huh?
exactly. So we came across acrylic because we were looking at some antique frames, some old frames, and we were wondering how they were made, understand what they were. So we started to explore. And we looked at lots of different materials, and acrylic was one of them. And normally you find acrylic, you might find it in furniture or in decoration or in a photo frame. Now, what we discovered was that acrylic, like so many other materials, is based on a chemical formula, and there are lots of different types of acrylic. So we spent a long time, literally years, developing an acrylic from which you could hand make optical frames the same way, the old-fashioned way, that you make acetate frames. So our acrylic is a sheet, and you cut out frames by hand from a sheet in the same way that you would with acetate. So it's a durable material, But the main benefit of acrylic is that it's incredibly light. So you can take a frame. I'll show you, for example, another frame that we have. So if I put this on, so this is a really chunky looking frame. It's got lots of volume. The material, let's do it like that, is 10 millimeters thick. 10 millimeters, okay? But if I put this on, it weighs nothing. It's so light, really, really comfortable, and you can wear it all day. Now, if you do the same thing with an acetate frame, it's beautiful, but it's heavy. And you know, there's a limit to how long you can wear it and feel comfortable. So the first main benefit of acrylic is that it is incredibly light and comfortable to wear all day. The second benefit is that you get incredible colors.
Amazing. I have seen this on your website. It looks like great.
Thank you.
I think that's the one for which you got some kind of a Silmo award. Was this the piece?
We won the Silmo d'Or for this frame. So this frame is called Thor, and the color is citrus. But all of our frames come in a whole range of colors. So, but this is citrus, and this won the Silmo d'Or last year. So we're very happy about that. What I think is really important is that we create all our own materials. So if you look at the vast majority of the acetate world, the materials come from a few large companies. So of course you've got Mazzucchelli, who are very famous, and then you've got a lot of Chinese companies that make very nice acetates and of varying qualities, and you pay for. But because we are making a very specific material only for Kirk and Kirk, we can produce exactly the color that we want, and exactly, for example, exactly the color combination that we want. So here you've got, this is called Meadow, and you've got blue and green together, and we can be really, really precise, right down to the Pantone. So we can, and then you have like the different thicknesses of the green and the blue and how they interact. And then when you start to cut away and you start to play with the material, take away the surface of it, you get varying degrees of combination. So up here you've got more green, but down here you've got more blue, and they interact. So it depends what the colors are that you're playing with. But what it means is that we have a unique range of colors. And for the store, for the optician, you know, we don't sell, we sell to a select independent group of opticians. And so that allows the optician to differentiate themselves from their competitors, which is really important at the moment. You know, everybody's got brand names. Everybody's got the same collections. And what does your customer do? Your customer goes, well, okay, well, that's great. So you walk into a shop and you go, oh, there's a such and such a frame. And they go, all right, well, it's this price. I'll go online and I'll have a little look and see if I can find it cheaper. Or I'll see if it's down the road. And inevitably, people find it cheaper. This is a really pivotal time for retailers. Retail is difficult, not just in optics. And you have to build the excitement. You have to give people a reason to choose your store, not other stores. And that's through product. It's also through service, of course. And I'm not belittling the importance of the medical aspect. But most people, as a consumer, they'll go online, they'll have a little look around and see what attracts them, and then they'll decide where to get it. Or they might walk around the streets and find a number of stores that they think look really good as well. But you have to win their confidence in the beginning before they even come and see you, and you have to maintain their confidence when they come to your store, when they have their eyes tested, when they choose their products, and after they've left. You have to maintain a relationship with them after they've left, and it's not easy. You know, I haven't got all the solutions, but one thing you can do is you can show that you have exceptional products, that you've done the research, you've been around the world going to the trade show, and you've looked for something that you think your customer will care about.
As a consumer, he also normally get confused that he's getting an X brand in all the three stores, but then he also gets confused at which one he should pick, which is the best fit for him. So I think that's the most toughest decision for a consumer and also for the optician, which specific model he should keep in his store.
Right. So the best. I mean, I travel the world looking at opticians, and there's huge. I mean, almost by definition, because they're independent, the people that we work with, each one tries to make themselves different to the other. They try to differentiate themselves in design of the store, in products that they carry, in communication. It has to be completely 360. You can't miss out on the communication. You can't miss out on the social media. All that, everything is really important. But what I see in what I interpret to be the best stores in the world is buying a few brands, not many, not trying to do everything for everybody, so that the store has a really clear message about what they stand for. And that clear message differentiates themselves from other stores. But you'll find that stores will carry 6, 7, 8 brands at most and go deep into those brands and tell the story of that brand. Every consumer wants an experience. They don't just want to go and buy a pair of glasses, a set of lenses, and leave. They want to enjoy the time before they reach the store, at the store, and after the store. They want to come away thinking, this is fantastic. I love wearing this. I'm going to tell all my friends to go back there. I had such a great time. And for so many years, through my working life, opticians have kind of ignored that. It's been a very medical experience, which it is. It's a medical experience, but it's also a styling experience. It's also a fashion experience. It's also a shopping experience. You're asking people to spend hundreds of dollars. You're asking people to spend a lot of money on a product, and you have to justify why that is. And there's a temptation, especially in young markets, in markets that are developing on a retail level. There's a temptation to. There are two things. One is playing it safe, and what is safe? What is safe? Carrying Ray-Ban or carrying Tom Ford? In my opinion, it works for some people, but for other people, you don't need to fill your store with those things, because you just need to. First of all your competitors have got that. So how do you differentiate yourself at that point? How does the consumer decide who is the best person to buy from? So that's one question. And so the answer to that question for me is you buy brands perhaps that people haven't heard of unless they've really done their research. But you know how to explain that product to the customer. You know how to explain why they're going to enjoy wearing that product. So that's one thing. And the second thing is not to try and compete on price. As a consumer, I want to know that I am getting something really special. If you've got a kind of like a $10, $20 product, and the consumer is coming just to buy the cheapest pair of glasses that they can get, and they just want something functional, I respect that. The consumer, part of my crusade at the moment is to give the consumer the tools to make an informed decision, to take away the mystery of optics from the consumer, and to let them see everything that's going on, what they're paying for, let them understand what they're paying for, and let them make a choice. But if you want your consumer to have confidence in you, to love your store and communicate how independently how great your store is, and send everybody they know to your store, you have to give them an experience which is second to none. You have to discover for them. You have to go and find brands that they don't know, and say, look, I've been to Silmo, I've been to Mido, I found this amazing brand. And the consumer will be like, this is great, this is brilliant. I looked online and all I found was all the brands that everybody knows, like the Tom Ford and Giorgio Armani and things like that, which is fine. But this guy, he's actually an expert in his field, and I trust him. And I'm going to keep coming back to this guy because I've really enjoyed it and I love what I've got.
Fine. So just coming back once again to the material which you use in your eyewear. So is it easy to bend also on heating, or you can't bend it with heating. How normally the adjustments and all work?
Sure. So acrylic is a really easy material to adjust and a really
Achha,
easy material to glaze. So you have to make it, you take a heater, a blow heater, you
you
make
blow
it
it.
very hot, and
Okay.
then see if I'll find a way to show you. So for example, it's in the blow heater, and you simply, when it gets hot, you just touch it gently like that. It
Okay.
goes very soft, and when it's
Okay.
soft, you adjust it.
Okay.
You can just move it like there's no resistance at all.
Right. Right.
And then you pop it in cold water. And one of the beauties of acrylic is it keeps its shape. So once you've adjusted it, it fixes its shape and it stays comfortable for the customer forever. So that's really good. It's really easy. It's like any new material. When horn was a new material in optics, people had to learn how to adjust it.
Right.
And in the same way, you cut the lenses a little bit small, so they're not putting pressure on the frame.
Okay.
And so you just need to. I mean, it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes learning. I just did the whole training session. But you don't need a wire because the material keeps its position, and that's why you don't need it.
Okay. And any specific reason that you didn't wanted to put a brand name and all?
Yeah, it's a different thing. So I think we don't want to sell on the brand. I want our brand to have a reputation for quality, for service, for individuality, for being able to express your personality. All of those things are important, but I don't want people to buy Kirk and Kirk because it's Kirk and Kirk.
Okay.
And you don't. If you wear this frame, for example, or the frame that I'm wearing now, once you know the brand, once you've seen Kirk and Kirk and you understand what we do, you recognize it. And you recognize it because of its style, because of the transparency of the material. It has characteristics. And I think it's a little bit more sophisticated than needing to say, like, the consumer that wears Kirk and Kirk, they're independent. They won't be told what to wear, and they don't need to tell you what they're wearing either. They simply wear what expresses who they are, and they don't need to hide behind a label. It's just like, this fits me. This fits my personality.
I also see a couple of very big celebrities, Hollywood celebrities, wearing your glasses. Yeah, Robert. Yeah, he was
Robert Downey Jr., Samuel L. Jackson, bands like Morcheeba, Kirsten Van Ness, who's in Criminal Minds, Garcia in Criminal Minds. Lots of really great people. But what's lovely, I mean, we never, ever pay anybody to wear our glasses. And it's really important. This is a decision that they've made. And when you look at the people that are in the public eye that are wearing Kirk and Kirk, you recognize that they are just independent spirits. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. has his own style.
Right.
He's not following anybody. He might read GQ, but he won't just go, well, GQ tells me I've got to wear that, so I'll wear that. It doesn't work like that. These are really independent people. And so it's lovely for us and really gratifying that they represent very clearly the kind of people who wear our glasses. But they're for everybody. It's a really inclusive brand. There's something for everybody within the collections, so that you can express your personality.
Correct. So right now you are doing business only in Europe, or it's in US and all also? Which market?
America is a huge part of our business. North America.
Okay.
We sell in 40 countries.
Okay.
Yeah, we are. There are lots of places where we don't sell. That leaves us space. But we've maintained a consistency in the type of people that we sell to all over the world.
Okay. And I think it's with purpose you have placed the pricing above, I would say, Tom Ford, Gucci and all.
Well, I mean, it's a totally different product. So if you look at how the product, I'm not going to, excuse me, I'm not going to criticize any other brand or how it's made, but you get what you pay for. And
Right.
so most of the branded products are made in mass production circumstances. The physicality of the product is of a certain standard. So all the joints, the acetate, how long the acetate is cured for, the styling, the fitting, all of those things contribute to the value of the frame that you're paying for. Now, Kirk Kirk, when we make a frame, they're made in one factory in France from start to finish. We can trace every single aspect of that production. All of our materials are made in one factory in Italy. They go to the factory in France. They come out as a frame. You know, we know, for example, if you look at the hardware inside the frame,
Okay. Okay.
it's proper old-fashioned pinned joints.
Okay.
Everything's as much of the process that we can sensibly produce by hand is made by hand, the really old-fashioned way. And we don't do that in a way that is kind of deliberately Luddite, deliberately trying not to move to the future, because there are parts of the process that are improved by technology, but there are still some parts where handwork makes the difference. Yeah, the finishing. So an example would be when we make a frame, we finish the frame individually. Each frame is finished so that it actually matches the very front that it's going onto. So that kind of perfection is what you pay for. Other things like, for example, it took us 5 years to work out how to create the right acrylic, and then to find a factory that could work in acrylic, because you can't just go to an eyewear factory. I mean, you know, everybody says, why is nobody else doing this? You can't just get any old acrylic, and even when you've got the right acrylic, you can't just go to an eyewear factory because they don't know how to make it. It took our expert factory about 2 years to understand how to hand make a frame using acrylic.
Can you tell me something more about the European optical market, just for my audience? That how is it? That is it moving online, or is it more towards omni-channel? It's like offline and online both. How opticians are trying to be in the competition. Expensive prices are going up, but since margins are getting squeezed, due to which sustaining within the setup gets a bit more difficult. So is that same thing happening in UK also?
I think there's movement, there's change. So omni-channel is incredibly important, and
Okay.
and I think anybody who ignores that does so at their peril. There are two parts in the transaction. There's the optician and there's the consumer. And
Correct.
consumers, like, there's no question, consumers are omni-channel. You know, there are some consumers who will only buy online. That's all they'll ever do. You know, there are some consumers who want to buy their frame online, but they want to go to an optician for the lenses.
Correct.
You know, and let's take another example. A very clear example of that is somebody who might have some loyalty as a consumer to a particular optician because they've always looked after their eyes medically, but they don't offer the right frame selection. So this consumer might go and buy something online, bring it to the optician and say, look, you've always looked after my lenses. That's great. Can you put lenses in this for me, please? And that's more and more common. But the optician just needs to be aware that the consumer is shopping online, and they have to give them a reason to come into the store and spend their money in store. It has to be experience. It's not price. It's really not price, because you can't do that cheaper when you've got rent and people to pay. You're not going to do it cheaper than somebody who's just selling it online. But if you're an independent optician and you're trying to compete in a crowded market. You know, it's a competitive, crowded market. If you want to do that, don't compete on price. Offer people something different and explain to people what the value is in that product. You know, there's everywhere, there's a market of people who want the cheapest product, of course. And everywhere, there's a market of people who want something special, who are prepared to pay a little bit more to have something that reflects who they are. And I truly believe that in the current environment, things could change, but in the current environment, the only way to succeed is to differentiate yourself as a retailer.
Okay.
It's the only way. You're never, ever going to beat the internet on price. You know, if somebody wants a cheap product, they can find it cheaper. If somebody comes into your store, they'll probably find it cheaper in another store because somebody will be doing some sort of discount somewhere as a loss leader or something. And they'll definitely find it cheaper online. Yeah, and then there's copies and there's fake products, and especially with brands, you know, fake branded products that people are selling for like $1 a time. Don't go in that market. Don't do it.
So you even in UK you get fake products, is it?
Yeah, of course.
Common? Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's the same products. It's the same products that appear everywhere. You know, if I'm making a cheap fake branded product, I want to sell it where the consumer is going to pay the most for it. You get it everywhere.
Okay. I thought that laws are really very strict in Europe and US and all, not like India. So I thought that it's quite difficult for anyone to sell it there.
Well, the laws are strict, but people find their ways around it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can walk down the street and find in a market products. When I say a market, I mean literally a market stand. You can find eyewear products that kind of like, well, how have they got that? How have they got that price? Yeah, and you draw your own conclusions.
Great. So great, Jason. Great. Thanks for your time, and I think you gave a lot of inputs, especially about how you would place your brand within these stores, and also about the UK market and all. And I would love to see you sometime coming down to India. Have you been to India before?
Do you know, I've never been to India. I've always been fascinated, and I would really, really love to come, both like on a professional and a personal basis. So I'd really love to come. And yeah, it would be great to meet you face to face soon.
Oh, great. It would be fun. And let us know that when you plan to start business completely in India. Because I feel within premium market, luxury eyewear market space, I would say India is growing exponentially. If you talk about mediocre and premium one is still not that much faster, but the luxury market is still growing. And it has very less competition within the online space for luxury market. That is also one of the reasons that it is growing, because even these stores which were in premium segment, they want to move towards luxury segment, and that's the reason that it is helping them to grow, because the competition is less in that space within the B2B channel.
Yeah, no, I think there's huge potential in the Indian market, and definitely. I think for the discovery of new brands, it's a great opportunity for people to take their store to a different level.
Right.
If anybody wants to find out about Kirk and Kirk, there's kirkandkirk.com, and our Instagram is @KirkandKirk.
Okay. I will share those links and all. You don't need to worry.
I knew you would.
Yeah, we will share it.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate it. Listen, thank you so much for contacting us. And
we'll stay in touch.
Let's stay in contact. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.